Masechet Avoda Zara Daf Yod Bet. Ayir sheyesh ba Avoda Zara chutza la mutar. If there is a city and there is idolatry within the city, one may not do business inside the city. However, one can do business outside the city. We don't call the outskirts of the city part of the city. It's a separate area. Haya chutza la avoda zara tocha la mutar. And the opposite is also true. If there is an idolatrous worship outside of the city, and so one cannot do business outside, but inside the city, that's not where the idol worship is, so you can do business there. Mahu lelech lesham, bizman שהדרך מיוחדת לאותו מקום אסור, ואם היה יכול ללך בה למקום אחר, מותר. What are you allowed to travel to a city that is an idolatrous city? So it depends. If the path, the road that goes there is special to it, meaning this road only goes to that city, it doesn't lead anywhere else, then it's prohibited. Why would anybody be in that road? If you're on that road, it means you're going there to this important temple that's in this place. So why else would you be going there except to worship in that temple? Therefore, don't even go on the road. However, if that road leads also to other places, maybe this temple and that city is a stopover, and the road continues through the city and goes to another place. In that case, you are permitted to go on that road, go through the city, and go to the final destination. Because people seeing you will say, oh, he's on this road. Okay, maybe he's going to the faraway place. And so the road is multi-use, and therefore it's permitted. Gemara. When you say outside the city, what does that mean? How far outside the city? Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish mishum Rabbi Chanina kegon atluza shel Aza. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says the name of Rabbi Chanina. For example, the bazaar of Gaza. There you go, Gaza. And there was a bazaar right outside of it. So it doesn't have to be far outside. It doesn't have to be a mile away. But rather, just the places, the chambers, the lodging, whatever is right outside the city, as long as outside the city walls, that is sufficient. Now, some people had it as a version that we just said, that Resh Lakish heard it from Rabbi Chanina as a teaching. But there's another version where Resh Lakish actually asked a question of Rabbi Chanina and asked this specific example. Atluza shel Azah mahu, the bazaar of Azah. Azah, an idolatrous city. But how about right side, if it was an idolatrous city? What about right side of it, right outside of it? Would that be sufficient? And then one can do business outside in the bazaar? Amar le, lo ha'alachta lesor mi'amecha v're'ita Yisrael v'goy? Rabbi Chanina responded, have you ever gone to Sor, Tyre, up north? It's a mostly non-Jewish city. And if you went there, did you ever see a Jew and a non-Jew sheshaftu shetei kederot al gabe kira achat v'lo chashu lehem chachamim? That they put two pots on one stove. The Jew put a pot and the non-Jew put a pot on the same stove. And the sages were not concerned about it. They said it's okay. And so he answered through an analogy. So just like he's assuming that is okay, just like one is permitted to put two pots next to each other, even though one is kosher and one may not be kosher, but it's okay that you can put it there and assume that it's kosher and there won't be any problem with it, even though they're near each other, but they're separate pots, so it's okay. So too, the fact that there is idolatry inside the city and there is not right outside the city, it doesn't have to be far away, even if it's very, very close, it's okay. So he answered through an analogy that is permitted. So we have the same thing either by a simple statement, yes, he said, how close can it be? He says, for example, the bazaar of Azah, which is apparently very close. And others say he asked a question, what about the bazaar of Azah? And he said yes, but the answer of yes was not a simple yes, but it's actually an analogy to two pots. So now we're going to analyze this analogy. What would the rabbis have been afraid of? In other words, what concern might we have with two pots? And then by analogy, because he used this analogy for a reason, he didn't just say it's allowed, but what is the parallel to that analogy regarding the case of the bazaar outside the idolatrous city? Amar Abaye, Mishum besar nebela, lo amrinan dilma mehadar ape Yisrael achore v'shadi goy nebela bekedera. Dechivata hacha name, lo chashulem chachamim mishum deme avoda zara. So the problem that you might have thought would be with the pots is non-kosher meat. Maybe, in other words, we do not say that when the Jew turned his face and he's not watching, maybe the non-Jew will quickly open up the pot of the Jew and put in non-kosher meat inside. We don't worry about that because what benefit would the non-Jew have to put non-kosher meat? He doesn't benefit anything monetarily. And so, yes, it's possible that it could happen, but you don't have to worry about such a thing, and therefore it's permitted. Now, if you would worry about it, this would be a deoraita problem of eating nevela. So it's not a likely problem, and therefore the rabbi said we're not concerned about it. The parallel, if that would have been the concern, the parallel to the city would be that over here also the sages were not worried about money used for idolatry. If someone pays for idolatry, for a sacrifice or something with money, that money itself becomes prohibited, and you're not allowed to use it mideoraita, those coins. Now, let's say the coins are in the city and people are using them for idolatry. We don't worry that the coins in the city are going to be transferred to outside the city, and then if a Jew comes and does business outside the city, he will get those coins. Yes, it's possible that something like that could happen, there will be a transfer of coins inside and outside, but it's not likely that those very coins used for idolatry in the city are going to end up in the market outside the city. We don't worry about such a thing, and that would be a deoraita worry. No, we don't worry about it. That's the opinion of Abaye. Rava, however, explains the analogy differently. Rava amar, "Mai lo chashu lahem chachamim mishum bishulei goyim." He says that the concern that we're not worried about, but says the sages are not worried. Okay, what might have they been worried about? That to say that they're not worried. Oh, we might have thought that they'd be worried about food cooked by non-Jews. If something is cooked entirely by non-Jews, then you're not allowed to eat it. Now, this is a derabanan law, not a doraita. Technically, there's no sole kosher ingredients, but the Jew has to do something, mix it, put something in to the pot, has to have a hand in cooking it. So we might have thought that. We'd be afraid that if the Jew comes, he brings his pot, the non-Jew might say, okay, come, I'll put it on the stove for you, and I'll take care of it, and the non-Jew will cook the whole thing, and then it will be prohibited for bishul goyim, because it's right next to the pot of the other guy. And so the rabbis say, we're not concerned about that. If a Jew is coming, even though he's going to share the stove and put it right next to it, the Jew is going to put it on, he's going to mix, he's going to do something, even if the non-Jew also is standing there most of the time. So we don't worry about this derabanan problem of bishul goyim. And what would be the parallel? Here also, the rabbis were not concerned about the festival day. Inside the city where they're doing idolatry, one is prohibited in the city to do business on their festival day and also 3 days before. But outside the city where they're not doing the idolatry, so even on that very day, on the festival day, you're allowed to do business outside the city, and we're not worried that that could be a problem of the festival day. See, this is parallel because the prohibition of doing business with non-Jews on their holiday is only midrabanan. So just like Rava says, we're not worried. If it was a deoraita concern, we might be concerned. But since it's only Rabbanan, just like regarding Bishul Goyim, it's only Rabbanan, it's not so common, so we don't worry about it. So too, we're not worried that the festival that's inside the city is going to be practiced outside the city. It stays in the city, and you don't have to worry that one will be doing business with non-Jews who are celebrating on that very day. A third answer and last, Rabba bar Ula Amar, Lo chashudam chachamim mishum sinora. No, the worry that they might have had was because of splatter. Could be that while it's mixing, bubbling over, there might be splatter some food from the non-Jew's pot that's not kosher, and it might splatter into the pot of the Jew. We're not worried about that. First of all, it's not very likely that it's going to splatter. And even if it does splatter, what's like one drop, it won't be a lot, it won't taste. So it's not a major prohibition. So we don't worry about that thing because it's only by chance something that's splattering. Maybe it will happen, it probably won't happen. Even if it does happen, it's probably a little. So we don't have to worry about it. So to here, the rabbis were not concerned about the 3 days before the festival doing business outside in the bazaar. This is parallel because it's twice removed. Here, there's a holiday inside the city on a certain day. Now, outside the city, you're in a different place, and the days before, it's also a different time. The rabbis added 3 days, right, just in case the people are already preparing and buying the animals 3 days before. So, since it's twice removed, a different place, and it's before the holiday itself, that's similar to this, the case of the pot, where it's not the food itself you're worried about. There's going to put actual food in there. It's only the splatter, and even if it splatters, there's probably only a little bit that won't be tasted, and so therefore it would be permitted. And so Rabba Barula explains that is the analogy. Next, Mahu lelech lesham. The Mishnah asked, are you allowed to go to that city? And said, it depends. If that's the final destination, you can. But if it's a road that goes also to other places, then yes, you can go through that city and move on to other places. תנו רבנן, עיר שיש בה עבודה זרה אסור להיכנס לתוכה ולא מתוכה לעיר אחרת, Rabbi Meir. Now we see a baraita that actually brings two opinions about this. According to Rabbi Meir, if there is a city that it's an idolatrous city, that's the main thing, it has a big idol in it, it's famous for this, then one cannot enter the city, and you cannot even go through the city in order to get to another place. So Rabbi Meir is very machmir, more machmir than the Mishnah. So that's a stringent opinion. You can't go down that road at all if it's going to an idolatry, not even to pass through it. Hachamim אומרים כל זמן שהדרך מיוחדת לאותו מקום אסור, אין הדרך מיוחדת לאותו מקום מותר. Hachamim say only if that road is unique to that place, meaning it only leads to that place and doesn't lead anywhere else, then it's prohibited, because why else would you be going there except to worship idolatry? So this is not looking very good. But if that road is not unique to that place, meaning that it leads to that place, but it also leads to other places, then that's okay. Sometimes there'd be a major road that would pass through the city, but then it goes on to other places. Then you can pass through and go on that road to a final destination and use the idolatrous city only as a place that's on the way. ישב לו כוס בפני עבודה זרה, לא ישחה ויתלנה, מפני שנראה כמשתחווה לעבודה זרה, ואם אינו נראה מותר. The Braita continues with other cases that have a similar concept. If someone has a thorn that's stuck in their foot, a splinter in their foot, and you want to take it out. Now, it happens to be that when you got that thorn stuck in your foot, when you felt it, you were walking in front of an idol. Now, if you bend down to take the thorn out of your foot, then you're going to be bending down in front of the idol, and it will look like you're bowing to the idol, even though your intention is to take out the thorn, and your intention is not about to bow down to the idol. So you're okay in your own mind, but people watching you won't know that you have a little thorn in your toe. They will think, oh, look, this guy is bowing to idolatry. Therefore, you may not do so. You may not bend down and take the thorn out there because it looks like you're worshiping idolatry. Therefore, you have to hop a few steps away. It might be a little bit painful, but then take it out over there. However, if you're not seen, then it's permitted, because in your own mind, you know you're only taking out a thorn. But the problem is that someone might see you. But if it's the middle of the night, there's nobody around, then there's no problem. נתפזרו לו מעתה בפני העבודה זרה, לא ישחה ויתלם, מפני שנראה כמשתחווה לעבודה זרה, ואם אינו נראה מותר. Another example, if someone drops some change, they were playing around with their pocketbook, and they're walking by an idol happened to be, and some coins dropped on the floor, and you want to pick them up. So one is not allowed to bend down and pick them up, because people won't realize that you're bending down just to pick up the coin that you dropped. They'll think that you're bending down to worship the idol, and so they're going to think, oh, this guy worships idols. Oh, he does it. Maybe it's allowed. I'll do it too. It's not good. So that's not allowed. But it's really not in your own mind. You know you're not doing it. It's only because of people are watching. But so if there's nobody watching, that's how we're understanding right now. We'll see, the Gemara will analyze further in a minute. If there's nobody around to see, then it's okay. Then you can bend down and pick up the coins. Another example, the Gemara will discuss why we need so many examples. Ma'ayan hamoshech lifnei avoda zara lo yishche v'yishte mipnei shenireh kimishtachave la'avoda zara v'meno nireh mutar. If there's a spring that runs in front of an idol, happens to be there's an idol next to a spring, and you want to drink, you should not bend down and drink from the water from the spring because it looks like you are bowing down to the idol. But if there's nobody around, then it's permitted. Parsufot ham kalechin mayim likrachin lo yaniach piv al pihem v'yishte mipnei shenireh kimnashek la'avoda zara. In Roman cities, they used to have water fountains. They had plumbing and all that, and so there would be public fountains in various places. Then they would put a face of an idol. Here is a fountain in Pompeii with a face of the Roman god Mercury, and there'd be water coming out of its mouth. So it's like water. It's a water fountain. In order to drink, you'd have to put your mouth right up to the mouth of the idol. So your intention is to drink. You don't want to worship the idol, but if anybody's looking, they're going to say, "Oh, look at that? He's kissing this idol. He's worshiping this idol." So one is not allowed to drink from the mouth of the face of the water fountain. And also, one may not place a mouth on a pipe. So even if there's no face there, but there is a pipe, so one cannot put your mouth on the pipe and drink from a fountain like that. That's not because of idolatry. Let's say there's no face, there's no idol there, but this is for a different reason, because it is dangerous. We wouldn't do that nowadays because of bacteria, but they didn't know about bacteria. They were worried about something else, as we will see in a minute. Mai eno nireh. Now, question. When the Baraita said a few times, if no one is watching, then it's allowed. Is that really what it means? If you say it means that he's not seen, there's nobody around, it's middle of the night, everybody's sleeping, then you can bow down and take out the thorn or take the coins. But Rav said that anytime the rabbis make a law because people might see, don't do this because of the appearance, of people might have a mistake of what it looks like. Anytime the rabbis make such a law, it doesn't matter if there are people around or not. Even if you're in a chamber inside a chamber, you're in a room inside a room with closed doors and no windows, still, once the rabbis make a decree like that, they say it across the board. Who knows? Maybe there's somebody behind that is watching or not watching, and then you're going to have to reason, well, it's kind of late, maybe there's nobody around. No, once they make a law, even though the reason is because of Meid Ta'ayin, it applies across the board no matter what, whether people are watching or not. So this doesn't make sense that the Baraita means, when it says if he's not seen, it doesn't mean that there's no one watching. It doesn't really matter if there's 100 people around or no people around. Rather, what it means is, if it doesn't look like you are bowing down to the idol, then it's okay. So there are people around, there are people watching. What you have to do is you have to bend down in a way that doesn't look like you're bowing to the idol. So for example, if you drop some coins on the floor, don't bend down towards facing the idol. Rather, turn around, go to the other side, and bend with your back towards the idol. And so you bend down to pick them up. If anyone's watching, they'll say, oh, he's not bowing to the idol, he's bowing the other way. He's bending down, okay, to pick up something. And so there's a way that you can bend down by facing away from the idol, and that way it won't look, even if there are people there, it won't look like you're bowing to the idol. Now, why do we need so many cases? We need each of them. If you only had the case of a thorn, I might have thought that you can't bow down to take the thorn out, because, listen, you can hop away a few steps and then take the thorn out somewhere else. So that's why you're not allowed. But I might have thought that in the case of coins, well, you can't move a few feet away and pick up the coins. The coins are on the floor right in front of the idol. So I might have thought that it would be permitted to bend down in front of the idol to pick up the coins. So that's why I need the case of coins to say, even though there's no way to pop away and do it, still it's not allowed. And if I only had the case of coins, I would say, okay, you can't bend down and pick up the coins because it's only money. So you'll have to lose some money in order to not even look like you're making avodah zarah. That the rabbis will ask. But in terms of to have pain, that you have a thorn in your foot, it's very painful. You want to take it out right away. You don't want to go away. So you might have thought that would be permitted in order to prevent pain. So that's why we need the case of thorn also to say, no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to bend down towards the idol. Even if the thing is causing you pain, you have to turn around, hop away, and wait a few seconds with that pain, and then take it out, not right in front of the idol. And if I had those two cases about the thorn and coins, then I would say over there, those two are prohibited to do in front of the idol because there's no danger of life. But let's say it was a case where is there a danger of life, like drinking from a spring. Let's say it's a hot day, you're going to dehydrate, you're going to faint, you might die if you don't drink. So I might have thought that it's permitted to drink from the spring, even though it's right in front of the idol, because you don't mean to bow to the idol, so it's not like you had egg v'ayavod. I might have thought that, okay, people are watching, they might think maybe it's allowed because I have to drink to live. And therefore, we need that example also to say, no, not a good enough reason. You have to find a way to get the water somehow by not bending down in front of it and looking like you're bowing to it, even though it's in danger. Okay, you can, of course, you don't have to give up your life just to not look like you're doing it, but you do have to find a way to get the water without looking like you are bowing down to it. Parsufot lamali. Now, why do I need the case of the water fountain that has a face on it and that you're not allowed to drink from it because it looks like you're kissing it? So isn't that the same as the spring case, that you can't bow down in front of the idol that's to get water from the spring? That's basically the same thing. Those are both potential sakana. And there, no, we need that case only because of the continuation that's going to add. Mishum de kaba'ed mitneh kayose bo lo yaniach piv al gabe hasilon v'ishteh mipnei hasakana. That you can't put your mouth on a pipe and drink. So really, the case of the face on the water fountain is the same as the spring, but we brought that up because generally those faces had a pipe sticking out, like in the picture. And so then, since we wanted to really talk about what if there's a pipe without a face, so it used that case as a transition, even though the face by itself we knew already from the previous case, it was a transition to teach us that you can't drink from a pipe even if there's no idolatry around, because it's dangerous. My sakana. What is the danger? The answer is akula, a leech. There are leeches in water, and if you drink without looking first at what you're drinking, you may drink a leech, and that is very dangerous. So instead, you have to put it in a cup or something and look at the water, see, any leeches in there? Get rid of them. If there's no leeches, then drink it. That way you'll be saved from such danger. If you put your mouth on a pipe and drink from it, then you won't be able to see if there are leeches in it. Tanorabanan, lo yishte adam mayim, lo min haneharot v'lo min hagamim, lo befiv v'lo biyado achat. V'im shata damo b'rosho mipnei sakana. My sakana, sakanat akula. So more elaboration on leeches. One may not drink water from a river or a pond with one's mouth directly or with one hand, because if you put your mouth, you bend down and put your mouth into the pond, or use one hand, then you're not able to see what you're drinking. Put your mouth in the water, you're just drinking without seeing. And one hand doesn't hold a lot for a long time, so you have to basically lap it up quickly, and you're just throwing the water into your mouth, and you can definitely swallow a leech that way, which will be very dangerous. If you use two hands, that's okay, because then you can make a little bowl with your two hands, and you can pick it up, look at the water before you drink it, and make sure that there's no leeches in it. Now, if someone does drink in such a way, then he is responsible for his own life. His blood is up on his head because of the danger. What is the danger? It's because of leeches. This teaching supports what Rabbi Chanina said. If someone swallows a water leech, so it's a very dangerous thing. Now, the way to get them off and kill them is using hot water or vinegar. So if someone does swallow a water leech on Shabbat, you're allowed to violate Shabbat and heat up water, even though it's a violation of Shabbat. It's sakadat nefashot. We got to get that out. And in fact, happened one time that someone swallowed a water leech on Shabbat, and Rabbi Nechemiah said, yes, go boil water for him in order to get it off. The leeches will attach to someone's skin, outside or inside, and suck the blood. That's very bad. You can't do that. If it can attach to inside and it grows while it's doing that, so it could suffocate the person. So you really don't want to do that. In the meantime, it takes a while to get the water hot. So in the meantime, a person should swallow vinegar, because vinegar also will attack the leech, and that can buy you some time. Since we're talking about swallowing dangerous things, another related teaching, someone who swallows a hornet will not live, because the hornet can sting a person multiple times and will swell up and he will die. And nevertheless, even though he's going to die, you should have him drink a quarter of a log of this sharp vinegar, maybe made out of dates, shamgaz vinegar, and that will extend his life somewhat longer, and that way he can instruct his family, he can give his last will and testament, so it'll gain him a little bit of time, even though, yes, he will die, but vinegar will extend his life just long enough so he can tell them who gets the house and who gets the car and what to do. Tenor Rabbanan, lo yishte adam mayim balayla, v'im shata adamo berosho mipnei sakana. Another matter that has to do with danger and drinking water. B'raita says one should not drink water at night. It's not because you can't see the leeches at night. That's not the reason here. But rather, this is a superstition, as we'll see. If one drank it, then he is deserving of his responsible for his own blood because of danger. My sakanat shabrire. Shabrire is an evil spirit that enters into water at night, and someone who drinks it will be possessed by that spirit. But what if a person is thirsty? What should he do? If there's someone else with him there, then wake up the other person that's near you and say, I'm thirsty for water. And since you're talking to someone else, apparently the evil spirit, they're afraid of having multiple people there, so the evil spirit will go away. Ve'ila nekarkesh benachtema achasba venema ihu lenafshe pelanya bar pelanita amra lach imach izdahar mishabrire berire rire yere re bechase chivare. If he's alone, then knock on the lid of the jug, knock with the lid on the jug, and say the following incantation. Don't try to understand what this incantation means. That's what it is. It's a magical spell. It's not supposed to mean anything. It translates to so-and-so, the son of so-and-so. Your mother said to beware of shavrire, and then you keep taking off one syllable, verire, rire, yire, re, found in white cups. And apparently the evil spirit will be afraid of that incantation and will go away. Next Mishnah. Ir sheyesh ba'avoda zara, vayu b'chanuyot me'utarot, v'she'enan me'utarot. Ze haya ma'aseh bebet she'an v'hameru chachamim. Ha'me'utarot asurot, v'she'enan me'utarot mutarot. If there is a city in which there is an idol, an idolatrous worship, then, if there are some stores that are adorned, they would be adorned with roses and myrtles for idolatry, like in this mosaic of Dionysus. So it was typical to express one's devotion to an idol by putting decorations in the store, and that meant that the store owner is worshiping this idol. So there were some stores that had the decorations and some stores that did not have it. So what is the law? Well, it actually happened precisely this way in Bet She'an, a very important city during Talmudic times in the north of Israel. And the sages ruled that those that are adorned with these flowers and things are prohibited, because it means that the store owner is an idol worshiper. However, the stores that are not adorned, it means that the store owner is not worshiping the idol, and therefore that is permitted. Permitted to buy from that store. The Gemara will elaborate further on this Mishnah. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.